Hi, my name is Edgar Soler and welcome to the Classic Industries Tech Center. Today we're going to be installing some window felts on a 1981 Z28 Camaro. With age and the natural elements, window felts can become cracked and dried out, contributing to foreign material to entering the door, and in some cases, may be contributing to the annoying window rattle. So now we're going to take a look at some premium replacement felts for your first and second generation F-bodies. First one we're going to look at here is a 1967 premium felt. Notice that this felt is a lot shorter than your typical 68 or 69 model, and this one installs by the fastening push-in clips on both the inner and the outer pieces. Next we have the 1968-69 style standard interior felts. Notice these felts are much longer than the 67 model, and they also feature a round bead on both the inner and the outer pieces. So next is the 1968-69 Deluxe style felts. These are used with the Deluxe interior option, and the main difference is that we have a flat bead on the inner felt. So these first generation felts come in 8-piece sets with all the mounting hardware. And next we have a 70 to 81 second generation style replacement felt. This particular felt here is sold without the chrome bead. Is for use on models equipped with an exterior reveal molding. This is a separate molding that was fastened to the body around the whole entire car, which included the doors, the edges of the fenders, and the hood. And the last item we have here is a 70 to 81 standard replacement felt for vehicles that do not have the exterior reveal molding option. The exterior reveal molding was not used, and the chrome was added to the felt itself. So these are some of the options you have for your first and second gen F bodies. Let's go ahead and get to our install. Okay, for this install, you're gonna need a flat screwdriver, a Phillips, some plastic pry tools, a center punch, a small ratchet with an 11mm socket, a door panel popper, a drill with a 1/16 inch drill bit, a pair of Cleco pliers with some side grasping Clecos, a pair of pliers, a pair of dikes, a small assortment of pliers, a grease pencil, a door pin spring tool, and tape. Okay, so here's our 1981 Z28 Camaro. This car's got the optional exterior reveal molding. The felt would be a separate piece. The first thing we want to do before we start the install is we want to disconnect the battery or use a little spring-loaded tool to push the door pin switch in. That way we don't drain the battery. So the next step is you want to remove all the accessories. Unscrew the lock knobs, remove the door handle escutcheon. You want to remove the power door lock switch. Typically these switches are going to be held in place by a retaining bracket and little spring-loaded clips on the side. So what you want to do is use a plastic pry tool and push the switch out of the retaining socket. So the plastic pry tools come in really handy. That way you don't scratch your door panel. Okay, so now we're going to remove the armrest base, and this particular model has 3 screws retaining it, which are here, here, and up here. On some models, you may need a spring clip removal tool to get your handles off. But in this case, since we're power, we're already good to go. Next thing you want to do is remove the door panel. The door panels are typically fastened by a series of clips and sometimes even screws along the lower edge. So you can use your little pry bar to locate the position of the fasteners and then a panel popper to extract them. Okay, so now your door panel is completely freed from the actual door. All you have to do now, you have to unhook it from the top edge. Okay, so now we've exposed the inner portion of the door panel, and we need to remove the window felt. Now the window felt is retained by a series of screws, but the glass is still blocking us. Looks like we still have the original water shield install, which is a fiber paper that was treated to repel water coming into the door. Generally the water shield just has like this putty that holds it in place. You can use a little scraper to kind of help to lift the water shield out in one piece without tearing the water shield. So in order to lower our glass further, we have to locate the bump stop. And what it does, it keeps the glass from going all the way down. There's going to be something along the lower edge with a rubber pad to absorb the stop. And here we can see that this would be the lower bump stop. Now in order to move the glass down further, we would want to loosen the retaining screw for the bump stop. All right, so before we loosen our lower bump stop or lower window stop, we would want to mark the position so we can realign it later. So for this, I'm just using a grease pencil And we'll take a 11mm socket for this particular application. We'll loosen the window stop retaining screw. And there it goes, it slides down. Now the glass should be able to slide down further. So now that we've exposed the retaining screws on the window felt, we can go ahead and pull the screws out to remove our felt. So now that we're looking at the doors a little more closely, it's a good idea to inspect your upper retainer guide. Our felt kits come with these replacement felt pads and all the necessary mounting hardware. You want to check out the condition of the felts, and if they're worn out, you'd replace them with these. Okay, so here's our replacement felt. As you can see, it's a lot softer. When you're going to install these, make sure you have the correct side, and don't forget to slide in the stop in the correct location and compare the fitment on how everything lines up. So when the felt's properly lined up, all of the holes on your door will match the holes on the felt. So you want to position all your screws in place before you fully tighten them down. That way, in case you have to make any adjustments going back and forth, you still can. Let's just make sure that the rubber portion is not tucked away and pinched between the felt and the reveal molding. Dig any portion of the felt that is pinched between it. Now we can go ahead and tighten it down. So our next step is to raise the glass back up so we can adjust our lower window stop. So now we're gonna reinstall our water shield, and it still has the adhesive on the back, so just press it back into place. So now that we've got the water shield back on, it's time to go to the bench and get the felts on the inner door panels. So now we've got to work on the inner felt. The inner felt could be attached by either rivets or staples. So what we have to do is remove this and fasten the new piece in place. So sometimes these staples can be a little stubborn to get out, and you can just use a screwdriver or something similar to kind of dig the material away around the staple. You can use some dikes to snip the staples, and little pliers or little channel locks to remove the staples. When prying the staples, just be careful not to apply too much pressure and break the plastic. Okay, so now that we've removed it, we can start to line up the new felt. So now we've got the new felt in position, and you want to center it onto the door panel. Make sure we have an even amount of space exposed on both sides of the felt. So roughly there's about a 1/4 inch here and about a 1/4 inch on that side, so we can clamp it in place using some of these Cleco side clamps. So now that we've got the felt clamped in position, we can go ahead and start making our holes. Now when it comes to fastening the felt to the door panel, there's a couple different options. Sometimes you can use a pop rivet, so you just simply drill a hole through the felt and the retainer piece and use a pop rivet to fasten it together. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna install it just like the original, and I'm gonna drill about every 6 inches with a 1/16 inch drill bit at about a 1/2 inch spacing between the studs, which is the correct spacing for the staple. Either way will work just as well. And you could just use a small ruler like this and mark it about every 1/2 inch so you can make your 2 holes. You can use a piece of sheet metal to insulate the material, keeping the staple from digging into the felt. And then just make sure your piece is wider than your actual pliers. And you could finish the crimp by adding a piece of tape to the pliers. So now that we've got our felt in place and the staples correctly fastened, it's time to remove the Clecos and replace any of the door panel clips if they're missing or broken. This style clip simply just hooks in here and spins on. All right, so we've got our door panel already reassembled with all the clips in place. Now we want to go ahead and drop the panel in place and snap it into the door. And just push everything back into place. So now we have to reassemble all the accessories, starting with the escutcheon. And we'll take our door lock switch, make sure that the letters are facing the correct position. There's only one way you can hook this up. Just line up the pins and push it back and clip it into place. We'll reinstall the lock knob. We'll get our screws in the armrest. You want to finish off by hand. Over tightening these screws may cause your armrest to rip or tear. We just want to remove our spring tool here and check everything for function. And that's how it's done. Thank you for joining us at the Classic Industries Tech Center, and check back with us online for future installs.